Let's talk about Nigeria 2019, going into the next dispensation. What are the things you see Nigeria doing in the next 4 years?
Well, I'm hoping that Nigeria will shake itself out in the next 4 years, actually, because the current trajectory is not, the way we're going, is not going to lead anywhere very fantastic. Population is growing. We've got a big problem with illiteracy. We're becoming global. Of course, we're a global capital of poverty, a global capital of even inequality, according to the Oxfam. However, I'm hoping, I don't know how it's going to happen. I hope that Nigeria shakes out within the next 4 years so that, it kind of reset, so that we can actually begin to go to where we need to go to. Now, if conditions were right, this country should reposition itself. I would say that our people need to begin to live like proper human beings. When you're in places like this, Ikeja, Lagos, whatever, Abuja and so on, you probably won't see it, but if you begin to move a little bit into the hinterland, you see the conditions in which our people live. And all of that is not necessary, no matter how conditioned we have become to it. So the world is doing great things. I believe that Nigeria should be part of those doing great things. I believe we have the advantage, again, back to the strength of youth, the passion, the numbers that we have at that level is something that needs to be activated. And I think if it is activated, that means investment in the youth, investment, the investment will not be only monetary, but in terms of a certain kind of empowerment to let them know that, look, you can get this done. In fact, that it is you that will have to get this done, whether you like it or not. If we can get that done, then yes, Nigeria will actually begin to emerge. Part of what I've said in the past is, rather than the 2.01% growth rate that we're romancing right now, vis-a-vis, side by side, 3.2% population growth and 11.2% inflation rate, which is both of those, that's 15 point something percent, 15.4%. So you back that out, minus 2.01%, we're in deficit of about 13%. That's it. Because you see, you cannot say, the whole idea is, if your population is growing faster than your GDP, that means that you have a deficit, first and foremost. More people are there for you to feed and the economy is not growing enough. But you now consider the fact that, okay, fine, the GDP you are measuring, right, is eroding. The currency is eroding in value. That's inflation. So if you had 1 million last year, this year now the money in essence has become 890,000, 880 something thousand. So you have a big problem. So I said Nigeria should be actually setting its growth target at double digit, apart from also having an eye on closing the income gap by empowering the people. And how you can, first of all, so double digit growth rate, at least 10%. I said, look, 15%. We can get it done. If you say you are running for 15%, you probably will find yourself at 12 or 11 or not. But if China is growing at 6.3%, and China was growing at 10% for quite a while, now down 6.3%. India has been growing at 8.58%, maybe about 7.5% now. Even the US is growing at 4.2%. If these countries, the massive economies we're talking about, can grow at this rate, what that means is that the US at 4% growth on almost a $20 trillion economy is adding about almost two Nigerian economies every year. China at 6% growth by a 15 trillion economy. That's about, about 900 billion being added every year, meaning that they're adding 3 Nigerian economies every year. And every year. I would say, look, Nigeria should also understand that, look, we are not here standing for ourselves alone. Nigeria represents the black man anywhere they can be found. The largest black country, the ones that our black brothers in diaspora, so many of whom their parents were taken away as slaves, wish they could come back home. But what we are showing clearly is that, yes, according to what some of the racists will say, that the black man cannot manage himself. So the black man, in fact, the latest technologies, everything we need to make our lives livable, we have to bring from abroad. And I think that level of, vulnerability is unacceptable. We shouldn't be this vulnerable. our furniture from abroad, even the things we used to cook our food from abroad, a lot of what we eat now from abroad, the clothes on our body from abroad, everything from abroad. Now, fine. The point is that's what I said earlier on, that you have to meet development in the middle. When you're coming to the table of development, they're asking you, okay, what have you brought? What are you adding? So you say, okay, sir, this is what we can add. By way, not the things that occur in the earth. Not, we have a columbite in Jos and we have whatever, that another white man will come and dig up and take away. No. Even this new discussion about marijuana, for example, I said, well, whereas I think it's going to be a bit dangerous, if you ask me, I would disagree a little bit with Shore on that. It's a bit dangerous because, man, guys, we already have a huge epidemic of drug use, and that may actually cause a lot of misuse. Nigeria cannot manage anything. That's the truth. So they say, maybe the NDLEA will manage it and ensure that people don't use it. No, this country, we can't even manage our crude oil. We don't even know how much of crude oil is got from the ground. Recently, NNPC says that they now have some system. For how long? From almost 7-8 decades, we don't know how much crude oil is got from the ground. But I said to people that even if one must go down the route of marijuana, tell me how you are going to. My governor, Akeredolu, he has to tell me how he's going to bring the companies that would actually refine that product. If we're still thinking of merely growing, packing in a stack, sending abroad, we're going to be back to square one, and we'll be back to square one with a bang, because we're still going to have on our hands that problem with drug use and whatever. So in the next 4 years, some of us hopefully we're still going to be around, contributing our ideas to the space, challenging the government, putting them on their toes, But I said earlier on, I don't want to sound like a loser, because sometimes when you try too hard, people say, well, it's because they didn't give them opportunity. So sometimes you want to say, okay, fine, if this is what Nigerians want, then let them get what they want, for that's it. But I know for a fact that the ideas that I'm pushing are well thought out. I know they're well thought out beyond. I'm an economist. I'm not an expert. I tell people there are no experts in economics, because being an economist is about having an open mind, a mind that continues to expand and they absorb more information, much more variables than you can think. It's about never stopping to ask questions. That's what being an economist is about. I know that some of the ideas, of course, that are put in the space, some of them can be refined, but they have profound ideas. All of the absolute rubbish that have been masquerading, what we call zombie economics, where you hear things like social investment is good. When you hear things like excuse me now. Sorry?
Is it trader money?
No, I'm not even talking about the locals. There are all sorts of ideas that are masquerading. Okay, let me start. Things like microfinancing will never develop any country. Things like finance, the more the banks you have, if the banks are good, look at where we are today. All right? Things like comparative advantage is what I was looking for. So your own is to give the world cocoa and crude oil and basic. You will never develop. These are some of the ideas that I'm after. I go after those ideas and I try to demystify them. You know what I'm saying? And these are, unfortunately, these are the things. Just 2 days ago, I was reading what Soludo wrote to Okonjo-Iweala towards the tail end and caused a big fight between themselves. And then, the reply from Okonjo-Iweala. Okonjo-Iweala was talking about rice and this and that. Debt is another problem. Yeah. The whole idea, right now at 24 trillion naira, divided by $305 to the dollar, that is $80 billion we're owing as a nation. We've never owed that much, ever. The much we owed, the highest we owed was 36 billion as of 2005. And remember that your Obasanjo used to say, we borrowed 12 billion, we paid 38 billion, we're still owing 36 billion. So they came and said, okay, fine. In 2005, what was going on was, it wasn't a Nigerian affair. I'm a student of economics. I was even actually studying international finance at that point in time. And they came and said, okay, guys, we're going to give a deal. That's the Paris Club. Fund. We're going to give a deal, and that deal is to say that we're going to scrap all this. We know we've taken enough from all of these less developed countries. But they singled out Nigeria. Say, no, Nigeria, don't go. You are no longer a less developed country. You have a lot of money coming in from crude. And so they made us give them 12 billion. Okonjo was the one that supervised that. We gave them $12 billion in cash. As at that time, Naira was 120 to the dollar. That's 1.4 trillion, thereabout. And because we gave them 12 trillion, they knocked off another 18 trillion, billion dollars, right? So $30 billion cleared from our loan portfolio. We're down to about $6 billion. But by the time Okonjo-Iweala came back, of course, Mansur Mukhtar, Aganga and co. By the time Okonjo-Iweala came back, by the time she was leaving, Nigeria was owing $53 billion. As I'm talking to you, Nigeria is owing $80 billion. Under how many? Despite the fact that these guys devalued. Yeah. And when you devalue, what happens is that the local component of your debt, the domestic debt, it reduces. Because if you were owing locally, we were owing, let's say, for $40 billion, which translated about $50 billion, which translated into at that rate about 200 naira under Jonathan. So that was like 50 by 10. That was like 10 trillion naira. Yeah. All of a sudden, that 10 trillion naira, by the time you are dividing by 305, has fallen. So it's like 10 trillion divided by 200, 10 trillion divided by 305. So there's one thing, and when you devalue currency, everybody suffers. So two things, and this government, the only thing I detest about this government is that I've seen them trying to really deceive the people. More than before, more than other governments, and that's where I quarrel with this government. Don't deceive the people, don't lie. Because some people know, fine, you can get away with it for now, but it's going to come up, and people will never forget. Yeah. If you make a mistake, admit you've made a mistake. Don't do all this gra kind of thing and say, look, yeah, I can get away with it. I'm telling you, it's the same thing that's happening in FRS. In 2013, Jonathan made 5.007, under Jonathan, FRS made 5.007 trillion naira. In 2013. In 2014, it went down to 4.93 trillion. In 2015, that figure went down to 3.5 trillion. Because Buhari had come by then. The figure crashed from 4.9 to 3.5. Then from 2016 to 4 trillion, 2017 to 4.5 trillion, 2018 to 5.3 trillion. They say, oh, we've made the most money. No. Consider devaluation. 5.3 trillion naira at 2013 money is less than 3 trillion naira. So you see, why? Because what you're doing is actually you're insulting my intelligence. You know what I'm saying? You're insulting everything I read, the little things that I know. And I will fight you. I'll say no. But look, if you say you've made 5.3 trillion, oh great, let's continue, let's move on. Don't come and rub it in and tell me what is not. Because if we actually begin to talk about devaluation effect, we talk about even simple inflation, everything in this country should be marked up by the rate of inflation to know if you're making progress. So even if you hadn't devalued Naira, this year now, just like saying that this year, if we made 5.3 trillion in FRS for last year, the least we should make for this year is 5.3 times 1.112, which is times the inflation rate. That's the minimum we should make. That would be something like 5.8 trillion or 5.9 trillion. Yeah, that is performance. But it seems like, the people who run the economy seem to not have any perspective on these issues. But we get there.
Okay, so if you had to address President Buhari now, what are the key sectors you would want him to look at, to tackle, like most importantly, or the dire sectors that needs?
You know what? It's a tough question because I don't see Buhari. He's never invited people like us. He doesn't care if we exist. So it's difficult for me to say if I want to, whether should I be advising him or be quarreling with him or what, or be avoiding him. You know what I'm saying? So that's an option, because you don't want to get into toxic situations. But that said, it's simple. I would offer him some of the things I pushed during the campaign, which are still real. I would say to him that this country will only be repositioned by the youthful energy that we have. That's the only thing we have. I would say to him that, look, go back to those schools, incentivize them. Forget about giving money on the streets. No, all this trader money, they don't make sense. The point is that those people who are sitting down there, they don't need more capital. It's not about capital. It's about sale. It's about patronage. It's about the purchasing power of our people, which is not there. I can bet with Mr. Oshibajo or Professor Oshibajo that most of those monies won't come back. Some of them will take the 10 million, 10,000 naira, the 20,000. When it gets to 100,000, you won't see them anymore. Why would they even give it back? They can tell you, they can sit you down, ask the vice president, and tell you 1,000 ways in which you have failed them. Ask the government. And why today I have things on my phone where people are beating up agents of Ikeja electricity, beating them up in 2 or 3 instances. And I'm beginning to say, well, why are they beating them up? But I say, okay, fine. Perhaps maybe they paid something and the guys did not record it, or they overcharged them, and then you want to cut their light. You see a mother and a father beating up and fighting and using weapons. You know what I'm saying? So those people who you are giving money in the market will one day tell you and say, oh God, sorry, it's great. I mean, is it not this country where we have such a terrible credit culture? Yeah. I was just discussing with someone now who worked in a bank. I was telling me that when he was working in a bank, they laid him off, But when he was working in the bank, his madam, who was the big madam, this in there, will package documents in the name of a house girl and move millions. In the name of a driver and move millions. In this country, listen, so, when you said those things, you're beginning to wonder, those of us who say, oh, there's corruption in government. Are we normal people at all? You know what I'm saying? Where do we start? So that's it. So those things like trader money won't work. So I would advise Buhari, incentivize these students. I think that we're sitting on a gold mine that we're not tapping there. I think that we need to tap into their creativity. I think we need to see them more on the street. The way this country will move up, there's going to be a kind of, it's a kind of revolution, okay, but it's got to be positive. The revolution can be in 2 ways. Either the negative type that involves going out to slaughter people and kill the big men and all of that, in which a few people have been talking about lately, or the positive one where if the government was reasonable in its own interest and the interest of the elite, you're going to see a scenario where this country becomes a huge construction site. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like things I'm talking about, things like all those roads, you're going to see scenarios where, all of these small street roads in Egbeda, all of those tiny roads that have, let students of LASU go and do. No, students of LASU year 3, 20 of them, give them the implement. Put some small money in their pocket. Let them do it with pride. Let them put this in there. This is our project for year 2, whatever semester. You know what I'm saying? You say you don't have electricity. Mr. Fashola is bringing a solar, whatever. I said some of them are there in the port. Where is our contribution to that? You want to install electricity for 7 universities and 2 teaching hospitals, 24 hours. But you're bringing it from outside. You are not involving any of them there. Come on. I don't understand. So this whole idea of you think you're going to spoon feed people. You can't spoon feed people to development. I want to see the nexus where those students there. In fact, what you should be doing is to say, okay, fine. You students of University of Ibadan, go to one village somewhere going on the way to Oyo. Go and power that village. You don't have light. Whether you want to use, some of them have streams at the back of the village. You want to use mini hydro. You want to use whatever. Cobble it together. There's even the one guy that didn't go to school that does that. No, I think he went to school. But after he served and he went back to his village, I think it's somewhere there on WhatsApp. And what he does, he builds that stuff and he puts it near the stream. And he powers a couple of light bulbs in the village. That's the only thing that will solve our problem. Not all this. So that the government can now focus on some of those bigger issues that they're talking about. So that's what I will tell him. Even the issue of security will only be solved, I believe strongly. We need more boots on ground. We need more people employed in security services in this country. In the countries that I know, Nigeria is a very slack country. 400,000 policemen, 200,000 of which are carrying bags for some big men. Another 80,000 are ghosts. Yeah. For some reason, Mr. Buhari has refused to solve this ghost worker problem. The ghost worker is there in the civil service. One government will come and say they've seen 50,000. One will say, in fact, when Kemi Adeosun was here, she said she found 53,000 ghost workers. That they were taking 13 billion from the coffers every month, which turned out to be 143 billion every year. The next thing was, he said they are going to arrest some people. The next thing was, Garba Shehu took over the communication from the presidency and said that 5 people have been arrested from the cash office. Are you telling me it's 5 people that are sitting on 143? No. There's some secret there. These monies are being benefited by very powerful people. And I think that those people are still being protected. So in terms of security, is very important. Things like health, I believe that, again, what we should begin to do, especially at the primary level. Like recently I heard the Minister of Health saying that there's a lot of pressure at the tertiary level. Someone has a headache, straight to loot, straight to lawsuit. These are tertiary institutions that's supposed to be treating cancers and very serious stuff. Issues. But because they themselves have neglected the primary healthcare system, and I think that at that level is where we should have people who are studying, like the medicals. They should begin to moonlight at that level. That's what will save us. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you. Listen, someone trained as a medical doctor year 5. Before you go for housemanship, should be able to go to that level.
At least treat malaria.
And treat malaria, prescribe 1 or 2 things, let them see someone. That's the point. That's the point. That's the only thing look, the only thing that will solve the problem of this country, are these young men like you, with a lot of energy and passion, imagination, creativity, connectivity, who know what's up in the other sides of the world, who can use the internet. You're the only ones that can solve the problem. Forget all these old men are wasted. You know why? Because some of them are actually afraid of the white man. Some of them are also beholden. A number of them, I'm sorry to say, are also not, but they're not actually, they don't have allegiance to this country. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they don't have allegiance to this country. Number one, they're afraid of the white man. The white man. But our generation, we went to school with some of these white boys. We beat them in class. So we know that, look, we can actually, your generation is out there on the internet. Listen, you know the amount of information you process on a daily basis? They said that somebody with a simple smartphone, you have 20 times the amount of information that Bill Clinton had when he was president of America. You get the information on the spot. So I say that I would, that's, if he asked me, that's the only thing he should do. Number one. Number two, I would say that the great embarrassment that is the Almajiri system, a massive, generational, global embarrassment that is almost peculiar to Nigeria. They have a few of them, maybe in Niger, maybe in Chad. It's peculiar to that area, and it's un-Islamic. All right? He has to go and solve it. I don't care how he does it. One guy asked him that question in that same Kadaria interview. Usman Suleiman Jau. He's he's a lawyer. He asked him, and he kept on repeating. He said, Mr. President, I believe you're the only one that... So even Kadaria was trying to abbreviate him and say, no, let somebody ask somebody. He said, no, I want to say, Mr. President. I could feel the pain of Usman Suleiman Jahu. And he said, look, we in the North, we're embarrassed by this problem. We don't want to see these children carrying these bowls. And you ask me, now look, that's the biggest problem in Nigeria today. That is the only aspect at which I will divide from my brothers and my friends in the North and say, no, at this point I will not be able to agree with you. Otherwise, I'm all for one Nigeria. But you got a problem. We all got a problem. That if we cannot be churning out these keys and these numbers and it becomes a big burden on us here, no, it won't work. So Mr. Buhari has to do something about that.
So we're talking on appointments that the president should make, but I want you to talk about this CBN issue. So last week there was a leaked audio about the CBN governor and some of other top officials in the central bank talking about the missing 500 billion naira and how they need to patch up. And a day later, it was confirmed as CBN governor. What's your opinion on this?
Well, okay, fine. I've listened to that clip once. Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe the issue was money was missing, but I think that they said they gave some money to some maybe their own explanation, but they gave some money to some states. All right, And that money couldn't fit into their balance sheet, and threw the balance sheet into negative, such that they had, negative shareholders' funds. And as the governor was saying in that clip, it was like for the first time ever. And he was exclaiming. And I think that was a very serious issue. That oughtn't have been swept under the table. Yeah. Whether they want to, confirmation is a political decision. They have confirmed it. You saw all the eulogies that the guys in the Senate were piling on the man. I'm not sure even he would think that he believes them or believes that he deserves it, but perhaps there's a price to pay. Perhaps there's something the senators are looking for. Perhaps there's a different reason why Buhari has confirmed him. I would actually say, I was on a certain forum and I was saying that, look, the job of a CBN governor is so tasking, especially in Nigeria, because everything seems to focus on monetary policy. The fiscal policy guys aren't doing their work for one reason or the other. So everybody is now a monetary policy expert in Nigeria, interest rate, inflation, and all of that stuff. So I believe that thing is something we still have to go back to. How were they able to balance the books in CBN? All right. What is this thing about giving money to states and the money can't fit in? If states are not repaying, how will they ever repay? Is it a state like Osun that sometimes after deducting what they owe, the state gets 6 million naira? When will that state ever repay? As a matter of fact, I probably will side with the auditors who believe that those amounts should be written down because they're bad debt. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that incident goes into the entire way we speaks to the entire way we are running the economy right now, patching up, giving loans, rolling over, and generally obliterating the tracks.
So you're saying you believe that it was the state's loans that had issues, not
wait, that is what they said.
Yeah, that was what they said.
But I think it's worse than that. I think it's not. I think the man was talking about. I think it was Aroshegbe, the director of finance. That the guy he advised them wrongly and said that the accounts were okay, only for him to say the accounts were no longer okay. A lot of banking terminology was used. So everything at once, but I still kept the tab open on my computer because I have to go back and review what exactly they were saying. You know what I'm saying? I think it's beyond 500 billion. But I'd say even if it starts from that 500 billion, why? So all of this stuff that Buhari has been doing, giving money to state, now they're talking about 640-something billion, so-called Paris Club. I'm the person that wrote and said, look, that thing is one of the biggest frauds ever, this Paris Club. If I ask you now, they made the Nigerians believe that Paris Club itself as an organization was refunding money to Nigeria. And I heard even people like Ned Nwoko, who I think is going into Senate from Delta State, saying that yes, when Paris Club, they went and told the US to not give him visa or something. This Paris Club refund has nothing to do with the Paris Club. It is simply monies that the states are saying that the federal government owes them. They said that when they paid that $12 billion, that there were some monies that they took from the states without asking the states. Listen. My point is, I have the list of the debts that we were owing itemized in 2005. Many of these states and their governors at that time collected money from different places around the world, which you never used. They pocketed the money. So how can you be claiming a refund based on the fraud? Where is the transparency from the government agencies? We need the transparency. So look, this is how we work the money out. Is it not our money? It is Nigerian money. It is Nigeria's money. Both the governors that took loans in 1978, 79, up to 80s, up to 90s, all those guys that took the loans and squandered the loans, all right? And the ones that are collecting the so-called refund now, all of these things are digging holes into the balance sheet of the country. And you can hear what Emefiele said in the clip. He said, look, devaluation. Because by the time the people who, and their investors are looking at that balance sheet, they say, no, this balance sheet is not strong. He said, how much do you say you have in reserve, 40-something billion? But look at you don't even have shareholders fund, except when the federal government has to fund you. Where will the federal government find the money when the federal government is itself being funded from CBN? You know what I'm saying? So it's a very serious thing, but you can see politics at work. In spite of that, the confirmation came in a jiffy with a lot of accolade. And also, that was the first confirmation of, second time we would have in 26 years. So at that level, it's politics. That's okay, fine. Let them do their politics. But the issues with the economy will remain.
Okay. So that would take us into my final question, which is appointments in the next dispensation. Who are the people you are looking for to see the current ministers? Should they remain? Who do you want putted out? What are you expecting as regards appointment?
Probably say, I have no opinion on that.
Okay.
That's the truth. I have zero opinion on that. Anybody they like, let them put there.
Who do you think, like, from this dispensation going out now?
Well, someone like Fashola is someone I have a lot of respect for. Never met him, but I like what he did in Lagos. I think he's a bit crazy, But why is he handling 3 ministries? I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think he should focus on one. And I think he may achieve quite a bit there. Who else is in the horizon? Amici is doing some things in the rail service, but I think all they're doing in the rail system is just generally patronizing China. I went to Kaduna some months back with the train system, and a Chinese man drives a train. On that train, Chinese engineers are sitting on it. So meanwhile, you say, and they are running it at a very suboptimal level on their loan. So the China gives you a loan, gives you the human being to build the train, give you the man to drive the train and the engineer, and then you say you've achieved what? But you know what? When we are so mediocre as a people like that will shine. However, I think I also like Amechi. I met him once. I don't know if he knows me, but I met him 1 or 2 times during that campaign. I think he's a very funny character. He's a crazy guy as well, I think, but let me tell you one. Based on the Mefele's reconfirmation, left to Buhari, all these ministers will come back. Left to him. Look, at that level, at 78 years old, I don't know how old is he. Do you think he's going to be making new friends? He can't be making, he can't know you. He doesn't want to know you. He can't be making new friends by this point. Left to him. So that's why I said I don't have an opinion on it, because it's going to be totally based on who he knows. In their APC, I have a few friends there, the younger people like Ahmed Ishmael, who else?
There's Ahmed Buhari.
Ahmed Buhari is not in APC. He's a smart guy. He was one of those people who stepped down. Yeah. Now, so when we were saying that, he was just one of those people who stepped down for Buhari, about a couple of days before the whatever. There's one guy called Ahmed Ishmael. So we have a few. Look, if it's about bright people, right? APC they will find them. However, 2 things is, number one, at that age, Buhari is not going to be even within the APC. Except they carry some people to him and say, "Oh, God, sir, this guy is good." Say, "Hey, are you sure? Are you sure?" You know what I'm saying? So, but mind you, the deals are going on now. In fact, yesterday I think I was reading somewhere. EFCC is going after a racket that's promising people, patching their CV to government, and say, at every turn like this, some people, that's business they do. I've received a few of those calls before, even in the time of Jonathan. And they, I saw your CV in a file. I'm like, hey, listen, usually those people who get the appointments are those who lobby for it in this country. If you want to get an appointment, and you're not in Aso Villa right now, like on a daily basis, crawling all over the place, you're not likely to get it. But many people do that and they still get disappointed. The issue being that, look, with the current system we have, it's difficult for us to get people who get those appointments and actually work for the people, because the process by which they get there is flawed, fatally flawed in the first place.
Your final words, sir. Let's just...
My final word is Nigerians should stay positive. What can I say? Nigerians should stay positive, but we should also understand that the challenge in our hands is massive. All right? The challenge in our hands is massive. We should think big. We should understand just how much deficit we are as a people. It's no joke, you know, and the enormity of the task on our hands. We need to get very serious, you know. If it's just about, you know, sorting ourselves out, being selfish and grabbing and displaying our wealth, it's not going to take us anywhere, you know. We need to develop a sense of collective development for ourselves and for our children. Look, I mean, children are growing up today. It is a travesty if we allow these children to grow up in a world where they'll be a little bit better than modern slaves. It is not acceptable. And that's why we need to do everything we can to ensure that this opprobrium, you know, passes over us, whereby Nigerians are basically an embarrassment almost all over the world. And internally as well, there are some serious decisions we need to take with ourselves, you know, the skill in the system. I don't do tribal politics. I don't do, you know, I don't believe in it. I think there's a lot of falsehoods in that area. However, I also know that there are some people who have actually established themselves to take advantage of everybody else and all of that. We need to get serious with ourselves. We need to be more equitable. We need to bring ourselves, we need to invest in the youth of this country. And I believe that in time, we will be great as a people.
Thank you very much, sir.